there we go. Okay. Well, my paycheck finally came. For it after 180 days, so I can buy Christmas presents. So I feel a lot better. And next year, maybe my economic situation might be a little better. I don't know. This inflation thing killed me. Yeah, I think it's important I buy Christmas presents. I'm not really religious, but I mean, Christmas is a secular holiday, and the whole thing about giving gifts is, well, if you don't give people gifts, they're not going to give you anything, are they? It's rather selfish way, rather crass way to look at it, but you know, you gotta at least get in the habit of thinking about somebody other than yourself. Cold weather and my health. I don't know. I could do more, I guess, but that's why this worm that ate Cleveland thing I've been working on this is a parody. It was kind of half jokingly, just to start a page on Facebook called "The Worm That Ate Cleveland," because I have an interest in science fiction. Was I really starting to do a screenplay? I still haven't made much progress. It's been 2 months, but I'm still on it. I'm still thinking about it. I haven't got anything else. But I'm just kind of like watching a lot of old silly movies to kind of get ideas about old monster flicks. I thought maybe just the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. But you would not believe how many old 50s movies there are about monsters and about like the invasions of the body snatchers and Day of the Triffids and the Stuff. I guess I watched that movie not long ago, but a couple months ago I rewatched that. About things that take over people and just spread throughout the population. It's an old trope or whatever. Maybe I can combine that with like, oh, I wish I could find it, but I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to respond to this. But if I could find some, wait a minute, Quatermass in the Pit, you know, that would be worth watching because I think that's relevant to my plot. Quatermass and the Pit, 1967. Yeah, but where do you find that? Where can you find the movie? Amazon Prime. All right, you can buy it for like super expensive. All right, Amazon Prime. Movies. Come on. Aren't you fascinated? Well, this is happening in real time. Streaming. Prime Video. Watch now. Oh, well, this might be good. $2.29 an episode. That's just great. Okay, let's try Quatermass in the Pit. And my computer's freezing, so you might be frozen too. Yeah, there we got the swirling ball of death. Nothing's happening. Can you still see me? No, 5 minutes. Okay. Oh, crap. Quatermass experiment. BritBox. You're going to watch me watching. This film was broadcast live at 8:20 p.m. April 2nd, 2005. Give it a minute. I mean, well, okay, here now we're in modern. You know what? I cannot find for the life of me Quatermass in the Pit. If anybody's watching this, if they could leave a comment, because I think I'll probably post this on YouTube too. I'm not going to talk about politics. I know I post opinions and everybody hates me and everything like that, but because politics is so divided. Quatermass and the Pit. What do we do about that? I don't think there is anything we can do about that. I think we're on that. Look at that. I will say one thing about politics that really freaked me out. And this is how you know. This is how you know that Trump is bad and people that support him are bad and they're ignorant and what they're doing is wrong. It's affecting the Germans. The Germans were well behaved for so many years, and now you've got them all excited and they're trying to stage a right-wing coup. And a lot of them are neo-Nazis. And they want to overthrow the government and establish, well, the German Empire. They don't want to establish the Third Reich, but yeah, maybe that is a bone of contention. But you see, we're going backwards. We're going backwards 100 years thanks to Trump. It's like saying the last 100 years of progress were just pointless, and they weren't. What it is just ignorant people. And if you're watching, I don't care if I offend you. You're uneducated. There are Republicans that know that what Trump is. He's a disease, and that basically, like Liz Cheney, I hope you'd agree if you're a conservative, that basically what she's saying is, of course she disagrees with the Democrats. She's against abortion. She's against all this flagrant spending. But what she does agree is that we decide what policies the country will have by majority consensus and with the limitations of a Supreme Court. There's a process. We don't suspend the Constitution. We don't pretend that the election was faked when there's no evidence. We don't try to stage a coup. Because now we're destabilizing the whole world. And perhaps maybe it would be better. My opinion is I've become less radical because I'm thinking perhaps it would just be better if we had a stable, moderate government in charge instead of, because the more radical the government, the more we're going to antagonize the people. We just need stability is what we need. Quatermass in the Pit. Okay, streaming. Let's try it. Streaming. I don't even care if I have to pay for it now. Internet Archive. Okay, here we go. Internet Archive. Holy moly! I think I found it. I found it. Okay, you don't have to. This is it. I found it. It's on the Internet Archive. Quatermass in the Pit. How about that? It's not going to cost me a penny. Now this is a classic. This is a real classic. Not only is this film highly entertaining and even ahead of its time, but there are multiple implications for this story, including anthropological and sociological, and likely others I haven't picked up on. The premise that human intelligence is not human after all, it has given biological and evolutionary rationale for ethnocentrism. The later of the two concepts is especially pertinent in light of our human history of genocide as well as prevalence of hate crimes perpetrated for ethnicity and orientation. Well, okay. What about ethnocentrism? I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but I think like a lot of things, like our conservative, they say that, what was it John Stuart Mill said? What did he say? I've got it here. It's not that all conservatives are stupid people. I never said that. But it is true that most stupid people are conservative. No, that's not it. That's never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with the experience. Mark Twain, he was a great American. Now there's a great American for you. Okay, wait, John Stuart Mill. Although it is not true that all conservatives are stupid people, self-interest, it is true that most stupid people are conservative. It's a default setting in our brain. What was that rustling around in the leaves? It must be something that wants to kill me. Our group has to kill that group because it's dangerous. That's how we survived. Let's try to remember that. That's how we survived for tens of thousands of years. Is it evil? Well, now it seems evil because the world's overpopulated. And for the past 10,000 years, all human beings have done is take sides and kill each other. And if we are going to survive, we're going to have to stop that. But we have to remember that as stupid as that seems now, the reason why that is so imprinted in people's brains is that's the only way that we survived. If you didn't think that way, someone else came in and either enslaved you or just wiped you out. That's how you prevailed over everybody else. Can we keep doing that? I'm not sure that we can. That's the thing. It's all right, well, we want to stay on top. That's the way. The problem is, who gets to stay on top? Look at me. I'm a white guy. I mean, I know I seem purple, but let's just assume that I am actually white. White, male, 63. But the problem with me is neither side wants me, and I'll tell you why. The conservatives are for young, white males or older males who have money and saved. The left is heavy into identity politics, which I am as opposed to as you are, the defund the police. It's all both sides. It's about the young. It's about the young. It's about the fit. It's about the opportunist, and they're forgotten. And people like me are just forgotten. I don't fit into a category. I'm not a member of a minority. I'm not transgender. I'm not gay. I'm not female. I'm not a member of any of these victim groups. And I know that they have been victimed, but you can't base a society and give people preferential treatment just because they were the underdog. What you say is, okay, there were barriers that prevented people from competing equally, and you give everybody an equal chance. You don't just say, oh, well, these people on top were so terrible. Let's not forget why people, this is going to be terrible, but why people like us were on top. I don't know if we were smarter, but we developed science and technology. Our culture built the big boats and the weapons and found the steam engine and cures to smallpox and diseases and surgery and education and reading and writing and technology and advances. All societies came along with us. Now, did we do bad things? Oh, we did horrible things. And the reason why they're considered horrible is either it's Christianity or the Enlightenment or a combination of the two. We looked at ourselves and we said, slavery? How could we do that? We're supposed to be Christian. We're supposed to be good people. This is not a proper way to treat anyone. It's like being a bully. We're stronger. We're smarter. I'm not saying that we were. Why do we have to pretend? We were on top for a reason, okay? I'm sorry if that offends you, but we were. Now, it could have gone two ways, and we almost did. The Nazis, and a lot of the imperialism. We got here first. Our technology is superior. We found this method of expanding our brains, known as the educational system in science. It put us in a superior position ahead of all of you, and now we're going to stay here by grinding you into the dust because we are superior. Now, what does that mean, superior? Are we racially superior? Well, let's try to remember something. It looks like I'm going to be talking for quite a while. My ancestors, the Germans, around the time that Jesus was supposed to have been around, well, not let's say 9 AD, the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, were basically considered they were considered as animals were by the Romans. I don't know if maybe we had a written language. I don't know. We had very crude technology. We lived in mud huts. We slept with animals. We were smelly. We were just very primitive and backwards, and they took advantage of us. We figured out we learned from their ways, though, and we lured them into the forest and wiped out 3 legions, and that was it. I think one of the advantages was the Romans just couldn't stand the cold weather. They didn't like it up there, so that helped us. But we eventually came down and just completely trashed their culture and set the world back by 1,000 years. Now, was this a superior culture? But then came the Enlightenment, the Italian Renaissance, again, the Roman culture, created this flourishing of science and reasoning and a rebirth, and led to humanism and Enlightenment and the Protestant Reformation, all these progressive capitalism, industry. What does this have to do with science fiction? Not a whole lot. But the Enlightenment started in Italy, which became poor, and then spread to the north, which was relatively primitive. And somehow, with the combination of the Protestant Reformation and Calvinism, which placed a lot of emphasis on making money, which we poo-poo now, but if you look at it observationally, that led to capitalism and science and the predominance of European culture spreading all over the world and doing terrible things and wonderful things too. Technology, life expectancy used to be 30 years. Now it's like 70 or 80 in many of these countries that they've embraced science, technology, and capitalism. Not necessarily Christianity. I'm not a big booster of that. Maybe that was just a step, or maybe I'm wrong and I'm going to hell. I don't know. But I was just looking at that practical atheism, or what is it? Not agnosticism, but I think I found something about religion that I never really understood before. This is going to go on too long, but I don't care. It's a good thing I write these things down. No, that's not it. Oh, my computer's so old it jams. It's jamming again. No. Brazilian authorities took. Okay, that's old. See, this is frustrating. I'm sorry. So gross. But my face is itchy. All right, let me see what we got here. Philosophical position question. Okay. Humanism. You know that. Why did I say that? That's not good. All right. Well, I know what humanism is. That's not the word. Practical atheism. Agnosticism, the philosophical position that the question of the existence of God is meaningless because the term God has no coherent or unambiguous definition. Okay, that might be it. Who knows what God is? What could that possibly be? But there were more. Load more comments. Loading. Flying spaghetti monster, agnostic, pantheism, negative atheism. Oh, here it is, apatheism. Apatheism is a portmanteau of apathy and theism. is the attitude of apathy towards the existence or non-existence of God. It is more of an attitude rather than a belief, claim, or system. The term was coined by Robert Nash, a theology professor at Mercer University. An apatheist is someone who is not interested in accepting or rejecting any claims that gods exist or do not exist. The existence of God is not rejected, but may be designated as irrelevant. Yeah, he's up there. He can do what he wants. I don't care. I think I never realized that, but that's basically it. You're up there. You're not up there. What have you done for me lately? I'm kind of mad about. I mean, maybe that's not accepting responsibility, but a lot of who we are is not up to us. It's up to our genes and the way we're born, and the choices we make are precious little. I mean, if you're born with a certain IQ or certain disabilities, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to overcome them. I don't care what you say. It's just not going to happen. And even the propensity to be determined is built into you. You have a certain disposition. I can't help it. It's my nature. You know the story of the scorpion and the frog? Scorpion goes up to the frog and says, I'd like to get across that river. And the frog says, yeah, you want to get across the river, fine, build yourself a boat. And he says, no, I'm going to hop on your back, and you're going to take me across. And the frog goes, you'll sting me. Get away from me, dude. I'm not letting you hop on my back. And the frog, the scorpion says to the frog, now, wait a minute. Let's think about this logically. You're a good guy. You want to help a friend out. It would not be in my self-interest to sting you, for then I would drown too. And the frog thinks about it for a while. And he goes, I know I'm going to regret this. And he says, go on, hop on. I guess that makes sense. If you sting me, you'll die too. So halfway across, sure enough, the scorpion stings him. And he says, why, Mr. Scorpion? Why have you done this? And for now, we're both going to drown. And the scorpion replies, I can't help it. It's my nature. A scorpion does what is in his nature. We are programmed certain ways. We just are. That's all there is to it. To think a certain way, to act a certain way. A lot of that isn't choice. It's just we're born with a certain sort of either skeptical attitude or blind following or whatever, being depressed. So what was my point? Now I'm really off on a tangent. What was I even going to say? Oh, yeah, about the superiority of our society. I think we just got lucky. We were in the right, it was just like a mad combination of Calvinism and the Enlightenment and an obsession with money, which is kind of human. Can we change human nature? Is there something beyond this? Well, maybe there is, because if you look at those Northern European cultures, they're very, they feel guilty. The Germans feel guilty about what the Nazis did. The Dutch have the slavery. Even the Swedes, they had the Viking raids and everything like that. These were very savage, aggressive people that now, by relative terms, seem very enlightened and civilized and liberal. Maybe that's a progression. So maybe we shouldn't. All I'm saying is maybe we shouldn't be so hard on people who have done bad things in the past, because people can change. We've got to look at the good too in capitalism that was good. The incredible wealth that was created, even though there's a tremendous disparity. And freedom that was, the opportunity, even though it was unequal. And medicine that benefited everybody, even people that were segregated and persecuted. Why did they stay here? Why did they come here? They had it much better than they would have had back in Africa or Mexico. They just would have. That's why they came here. As bad as we treated them, we should have treated them better. They were better off here than they were back home. Did that make what we did right? No, and we knew it because we were the first one to point that out. Islamic society was very draconian. The Chinese Empire. No other society came to the conclusions we did, that there should be democracy or equality or anything like that. All these societies were existing in these feudal or even pre-feudal formations. And just through, maybe you want to say it's accident. I don't know if there's anything particularly brilliant about us. At certain points in history, we were considered like really primitive. The Romans looked at us as basically animals. The Romans had a pretty neat civilizations. The Chinese, the Egyptians, things change. One minute a group's on top, and the next minute it isn't. So, as far as racial superiority, I completely reject that. Are there cultures that are superior to other cultures? I would say that I'm Eurocentric. I think Western European society created by capitalism and the Enlightenment is superior. Is it the end all? Is that the way it's going to be forever? I don't think this is the end of history. But I kind of reject that we're the bad guys. Now there are bad guys. But they can be found anywhere in the extreme left or the extreme right. Like I say, the left doesn't like me because I'm a fat old white man and I'm supposed to be rich, but I'm not. And the right doesn't like me because, well, why are you poor? Were you lazy? Did you do something wrong? Are you genetically inferior? And I suppose if anybody's inferior, it is me because I didn't make it. I don't have $1 million. I'm not rich. I'm disabled. I'm in bad health. And nobody wants to claim me. I'm not a member of any preferred persecuted group. I'm not. Unless you want to call, being disabled or mentally ill a preferred group of victimhood. But neither side likes me. I'm the bad guy to both sides. I'm scum to both sides. So, but democracy, this whole cool stuff like in Germany, that's got to stop. The other thing I'm worried about is the Supreme Court. The liberals were legislative activists for years, and I grew up in that culture, and I accepted that was the way it's going to be. Now they're unraveling all those things that we accepted. My point is, if you don't think that's judicial activism, if you don't think that's the exact thing in reverse, you're a hypocritical liar. Because, okay, I guess I'm somewhat liberal, and so maybe I'm just nothing. Maybe everybody's always a fascist. I'm just me. I'm just politically insane. Maybe I'm syncretic. I don't know. Alexa, what is syncretism?
I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, I'm not pronouncing the word right. Alexa, what is syncretic politics? Syncretic.
From wikipedia.org. The main idea of syncretic politics is that taking political positions of neutrality by combining elements associated with left-wing politics and right-wing politics can achieve a goal of reconciliation.
I think that might describe me, although maybe I shouldn't agree. I shouldn't admit that, but it's not just fascism that does that. It's also like third way. I think you just have to be practical, and I think when it comes right down to it, excuse me while I scratch the inside of my nose and pull a booger out. If we do away with the democratic system, it's going to be very, very dangerous, and we're close. The thing of the Supreme Court is part of our system, but it's unraveling. I'm 63 years old, and these are things, when you unravel these things, it's like you are destroying the world that I knew. You're completely tearing it apart. And making the world that I live in seem foreign, and I guess this happens to old people, and maybe this is coming around to the worm that ate Cleveland. It's about an old science hack writer who tried to do a lot of things in college. He was in my life, market research, law. He did have a career. He wanted to be a writer for a while, a journalist. He ended up in journalism. And he wrote some second-rate, maybe third-rate science fiction that was reasonably popular. He made some money on it for a couple of years. And then nothing. He just things went south. He wasn't popular anymore. Nobody was reading his writings. He was living off residuals. And now he's not even living off that. He's just surviving in a house that was left to him with a little money that was left to him. And he's thinking, Social Security, I can't survive. I'm not going to survive. I've got to write one more popular book and maybe be careful with that money this time, and then I can live off of that. His books were derivative before, and he's going to try to write another version of that. The Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, the Killer Sponge from Mars. I mean, he wrote silly parodies of old like 50s science fiction, and he wants to do it one more time. The Worm That Ate Cleveland, and he's trying to think what he's going to make it. The Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Something takes over people's minds, and then maybe they turn into Godzilla. They get together in a group like Quatermass in the Pit. See, that's it. It's coming together. Now I gotta watch Quatermass in the Pit. But I've put all these things together. See, old, loser, abandoned by everybody. Well, you were rich once. You're a rich white male of privilege, so the left doesn't want him. He doesn't fit into their little identity thing. And evidently he said something offensive about transgender people, so he'd been kind of canceled. The right doesn't want him because he's sort of an old, stuffy liberal, he likes gun control and universal health care and, thinks that there should be high taxes on rich people. But that isn't progressive enough for the lefties. They don't care. He's just a rich white liberal. But he's not rich. He's lost everything. So now he's just a poor schmuck who everybody hates. Basically like me. Looking for his one last return, other than just like destitution or living on Social Security or, stuff that his dad left him, family handouts. Just one return to his heyday when he was somebody that people respected. He had a career. He was productive. He paid taxes. I actually was a Republican at one time because I had a job and I got a paycheck, and it was California, the taxes were high, and also I had at one time gotten sick and had stopped working but was still going to law school and was taking out loans, and I was living off my credit cards. Couldn't pay my student loans back, so they put a lien on this good income that I was getting when I did kind of recover a little bit for temporarily. But the stress of paying those taxes and trying to get my life back together in bankruptcy, it put me back where I am now. And I was in this world where everybody seemed to hate me. I was a fat white guy, so it assumed that I was like some racist. And, I don't know, right-wingers figured that I was just some obnoxious Jew, even though I was raised in the Church of the Bethany. It's complicated, but I was raised in the Church of the Bethany Covenant, which was Lutheran. Everybody just assumes the worst. We don't want that fat communist Jew. We don't want him. He's a white male, and he said something. What did I say that upset people? I said there are three genders. I believe there are two genders, and this whole transgender thing is, I'm not against them. If they're a boy that thinks they're a girl, I'm not going to hate them. But they should leave the kids alone with this sex stuff. Wait till people are 18 or maybe even 21 before they start letting them chop off their gonads and attach new ones. It's crazy. I got nothing against you. It's a free country. You do whatever you want. I'm not going to condemn you. I'm tolerant, but I'm not accepting. And that's the other thing. That's why I'm considered a bigot. I say, sure, you have a right to do everything that you want to do in your life, but that doesn't mean I have to approve of it and think it's great. Like a lot of these, I was watching TV, and Biden, who I think is pretty moderate, he appoints this guy, only he's not a guy now, he's a girl, who's a smart guy, and he decided that he was a girl, and now he's got like hair, and he was in a dress, and he's in the military, he's running the military. Oh my God, the ugliest woman, and would I date that? No, and then I get in trouble for saying I wouldn't date it. So I say they're men, they're women, and they're people that need to see a psychiatrist. My sister's a doctor, and she says, well, Bill, objectively speaking, here's the thing. Before people transition into another sex or whatever, it is encouraged, of course, that they go into therapy to see if this is something real or if it's something else, that they need attention, they're depressed. So psychotherapy, it's not necessarily a mental illness, although I know you think it is, and I kind of do. But psychotherapy or mental therapy, psychological therapy, can help anybody, but it's also important if you've got this serious gender dysphoria. So yeah, in a way, you're right. People that are transitioning to a different sex do need to see a psychiatrist. So ironically enough, you're right, but I kind of get what you're saying, and a lot of people feel that way, but I know you're not a hateful person. You just want them to get help. But I think it's over. I think it's like everybody's hopping on a bandwagon. Oh, I'm a boy. I'm a girl. Can you imagine me with the, well, actually, when I was younger, I did do that. I dressed up in drag on a dare, and I went to Castro Street, and people thought I was really cute. I thought I was cute. I destroyed all the pictures. But I did win a $50 bet. But it was just for fun, you know. It was just for fun. It wasn't. But if you want to do that, that's fine. But I mean, to take it so seriously, like, oh, I'm really a woman, it's like, no, you're probably confused, you know? There are feminine men, there are masculine women. It's just, but we're in a position in society now where everything just seems crazy and confused. And I'm lost. I don't know how much, my health's not good. I don't have a lot of money. It's like this writer. He's just desperate. He's basically been kind of canceled for his opening his stupid mouth. Now, you know, a lot of these canceled people were liberals, like Roseanne Barr. She was like a lefty, and then she went crazy. And like Charlie Rose, a lot of these, they were like sexual harassers, and they were like liberals. And it's like, oh, well, I'm a liberal. Or what's that guy, Kevin Spacey, said, oh, I'm a gay man. Well, that doesn't give you a right to rape 14-year-olds, asshole. So you can be so you're in that nether region where everybody just absolutely, or what was her name? Kathy Griffith with the head with Trump. I mean, she went so far, and she was just trying to get attention, I think. She went just too far, and even the Trump haters said, you know what? Can't have this. This is not good, Kathy. I don't know if she got uncanceled or not, but that really put a, you know, the head thing, that was inappropriate. But whether she deserved to be, the reason why I didn't say anything was I never liked Kathy Griffith. I hated her. She just seems so obnoxious to me that it's just like, oh, such an annoying woman. Well, maybe it's good that she's canceled. Roseanne Barr, never liked her. Isn't it funny? Didn't like her. I think we're just reacting to their personalities. But it doesn't matter whether you're left or right. You can be canceled. And you can be as liberal as you want, but if you don't fit into one of these cute little groups, minorities, lesbian. Although, you know, I like her. The one that the big basketball player that just escaped from Russia. Brittany. Alexa, what's the name of the basketball player that just escaped from Russia?
Here's what I found from India today. On Thursday, U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner was released from a Russian prison in a swap for an arms dealer known as Merchant of Death after what President Joe Biden called painstaking and intense negotiations. Griner, arrested in Russia in February, and arms dealer Victor Bout, serving a 25-year sentence in U.S., were exchanged in Abu Dhabi.
I'm glad she's out, and I feel tremendous sympathy for her. People are angry because there's some white dude who was not guilty of anything, was found guilty of spying, is being held, and similar efforts haven't been used to get him out. But he's not a lesbian, he's not black, and he's not vulnerable to being raped by a bunch of Russian thugs. And I've known a lot of Russian people, and they're very nice. But the culture, it's like this is the difference between the people and culture, and a lot of people are rebelling against, you know, Putin and this despotic system that they have. Well, they drink too much vodka. It's a very brutal culture, and their prison system, a woman is not going to do well in it, and she's black, and she's a lesbian. So, I mean, I think she should take priority. See, this is my liberalism coming out now, even though I'm not liberal. I'm not guilty. I'm not guilty. I'm white, but I'm not guilty enough. I'm a bit smug and arrogant about the fact that the Enlightenment maybe was an accident, capitalism maybe was an accident. But these are where the idea that we were doing wrong came from. You treat people decently. Maybe that came from Christianity. People have human rights. People are equal. Slavery is wrong. Um, Inequality is wrong. Every culture on the world till that point did not think that. Their thought was there's a king, there may be barons and feudals, and the vast majority of people are just peasants, they're scum, and they should just obey their leaders. And there's no such thing as equality, and slavery is perfectly fine. And the strong guys run things, and the weak and the meek, they obey, or they're ground into dust. But somehow, since we came up with these ideas, we're the bad guy. Maybe we do. Maybe we just discovered that we were the bad guys, but we discovered it. But yeah, maybe we were. But let's get beyond that, because if we don't, we're going to do what my ancestors did to the Romans. And the Romans did mistreat the Germans, and the Germans wanted revenge, and they completely trashed Rome for revenge. And for 1,000 years, despite the brutality of Rome, we destroyed the world's most advanced civilization. As far as technology, as far as law, we set society back 1,000 years because we wanted revenge. And it took quite a while for society to pick itself back up. Let's not do that again. Let's build on what the Roman Empire has created, despite the fact that the Roman Empire was brutal and vicious. It created what did Nietzsche say? All great societies are based on cruelty. That doesn't mean we have to go back to living in mud huts. Because basically anybody that builds a technologically advanced society is just going to wipe out the mud hut people. So that's rather impractical and stupid. So anyways, we've got this guy who's just lost. He's lost. And he's desperate to come up with this new idea. But he's getting a little out of it. He's getting a little desperate. And he's creating, you don't know whether these things that are happening in his mind or whether they're real. The worm that ate Cleveland. The sponge that ate New York. The cosmic consciousness that took over the universe. Like the Borg. I don't know. He's doing what Woody Allen did. He's rewriting something he's written before. But he's going to do it one last time. Because he needs the money. And he's losing it. He's losing it. He's not sure what's real and what isn't. And it goes back to him being kind of a transphobic. This gay couple that lives across the street, and they're vegans, and they come over and they give him this, I can't believe it's not chicken, and he lies and says, well, it's not a lie, that he has a couple $100,000 he could invest. That's his other thing. He wants to invest this money because he's tired of being poor. Even though he's writing, he doesn't think he's still working on the writing, but he's investing in this product, and he tests it out. And all of a sudden, he starts feeling strange, and he's selling it on Amazon. And this product is like, you ever see the movie The Stuff or something like that? It starts taking over people. Now the question is, will this create like a psychic monster that will collectively form, or will like people explode and merge like a worm orgy? Because worms are unisex. But it's kind of a thing about his phobia, his inability to accept the world and new things. And while he might have been liberal for 1973, he hasn't moved on, and now he's just a dinosaur. And even that world, the world he knew, is falling apart, which will make you think, have we gone too far too fast? Isn't that what happens when you try to go too far too fast? And then we're going to go back to a world that I won't even accept, because the way it was in the 70s and the 80s. Roe v. Wade and all that. They're trying to do all away with that. Interracial marriage was rule. You can't make laws against interracial marriage. You can't make laws against abortion. Civil rights. The Civil Rights Act was held up. Gay marriage was held up. You got to remember, well into the Alexa, when was gay sex acts ruled? Okay,
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Alexa, when was this the Supreme Court that ruled that sodomy laws were unconstitutional?
Sorry, I don't know that
Well,
one.
anyways, you can look that up. The rules that made sodomy laws illegal, I think, were now you got to remember that they were ruled. They were still on the books in Texas. They were sodomy laws unconstitutional. I think that was like 2003. They're going to do away with that too. They are. Texas, okay, Lawrence versus Texas, 2003. A landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in which the court ruled that most sanctions of criminal punishment for consensual non-procreative sexual activity, commonly referred to as sodomy, are unconstitutional. They are going to do away with those laws. So while you're still fighting over what a woman is, we're going to go back to the way things were maybe in the 50s or maybe even the 30s. So maybe you need to reprioritize and stop. That's the thing that they said. This is most of the people that have been canceled haven't been like right wingers. There have been people in their own movement. Revolutions eat their young, and that's basically what's happened to me. I've been eaten too for just saying casual. I mean, liberals used to, you're like Blazing Saddles. You couldn't make a movie. That was a liberal thing. Young Frankenstein. A lot of controversial. We used to be the controversial ones that said the outrageous things. Lenny Bruce was the one that used the N-word, obscenity. Now you have to be so careful what you say. You can't even say certain words, and I'm not going to say them. Like, for example, you can't say faggot, which I just did. And I'm not going to use any of those racial ones because I don't want to get canceled. But there was a time when you could use the word and say, look, like what Lenny Bruce said, it's not the word, it's the meaning behind the word, it's the intent, it's the hatred behind the word. If we could just diffuse these words so that they don't really mean anything anymore, if we could do that, then we wouldn't have to worry about the word, because the word would be like taking the bullets out of a gun or taking the firing pin out of a gun. All you have is just a lump of metal. It's not really, I guess you can beat somebody over the head with it, but it's not the dangerous thing it was. But that's considered reactionary too. But look, our whole world is coming apart. I can't even recognize it. My hold on reality seems to be falling apart. I'm going to work that into the story of this old, poor, loser, canceled guy trying to make a story, and his hold on reality just completely slipping. And people are still nitpicking him about these things, even though this worm, this psychic worm, I can't believe it's not chicken, is eating. The world is falling apart around them, and they're bitching and moaning about which pronouns to use. Okay? So, it's like the gun control issue. Do I want to ban guns? Not necessarily. In places like Italy and the Czech Republic, you can own even fully, well, not in Italy, but you can own semi-automatic weapons and you can own handguns. But you got to get a license, and in order to get that license, they do a really thorough background check. You have to get training. You have to go get a medical examination to make sure that you're okay up here, and physically also. You're vetted. And if you red flag laws, look in Switzerland, if you don't pay your speeding tickets, you forfeit your gun license. You have to, if you're not a responsible person, if you don't act responsibly and you're held responsible for any crime committed with your gun, they come and get them. You have to prove they're a law-abiding citizen, and that's all I'm saying. It's not that everybody should be banned from owning guns. There should be stricter background checks, and there should be stricter laws, like with red flag laws. Because if you look at these mass shooters, most of them, there are red flags. There are warning signs. They were antisocial. They had fights in school. They threatened to blow up their mom's house. They have these long histories of unstable behavior. But the NRA guy said, "Oh, if you take guns away from him, they'll be after my guns next." Well, you know what? You've created all these mass shootings, and now the only alternative is just banning guns for everyone. So great, just great. So again, I'm in the middle. Both sides hate me. The gun control people think that I'm basically pro-gun, and the pro-gun people think that I'm a communist. The registration leads to. Maybe I am. Maybe they're both right. Maybe I shouldn't exist. But I think therefore I am, and I'm just too stubborn, and I annoy too many people, and that's, I guess, my goal in life. And I'm writing The Worm That Ate Cleveland because I've gotten this interest in 50s science fiction now, and kind of it's a testament to like reality, like this Trump thing, or this thing that went on in Germany. It's like people are being turned into zombies. They're being turned into zombies. People that were normal before, and now they're not normal anymore. Is it an alien disease transferred over the internet? I don't know. That's enough for now. This is just too long.